You ever notice this? A process works until it matters. Everything seems fine until there's pressure, a deadline, a big client, someone goes on vacation, and suddenly, as if by magic, things fall apart. Not because there wasn't a process. Instead, however, it's because the process didn't hold. Welcome to Trust Leaks, where we uncover the small breakdowns that quietly erode trust in your business, with your clients, with your team, with the public overall. I'm Sandra Martini, and today we're going to go deeper into something that most businesses completely miss. It's not broken processes, it's the unreliable ones. You see, there's a difference between a process that works sometimes and a process you can trust every time. So, in today's episode, we're going to break down why the processes that look fine still fail, the difference between functional and dependable systems, and how to build processes that hold under pressure. Now, I know this doesn't sound sexy. And yeah, it's not a sexy topic until you're on vacation. A client of mine is actually headed to St. Lucia. Till you're on vacation without a laptop, knowing that everything is going just fine as you wanted it to be, knowing that you didn't have to go, I'm not sure if that worked. Let me check in. Let me check in about this. And if you're a solopreneur, very small 1 to 2 person team, it's even more that you want to be able to have vacation and freedom and know that the systems, your processes have got you so that you can enjoy that. Let's start with the real problem. Most businesses, they don't have this process problem, they have a consistency problem. A process that works 80% of the time isn't a process. It's a risk. It's a risk for you, the business, and the client. And here's what makes this dangerous. Here's what makes this risky. See, the inconsistency, it's subtle. The failures are unpredictable. It worked yesterday, not so much today. And your team, whether that's a full team, whether that's a part-time VA, whether it's just you, regardless of the size, the team starts compensating without realizing it. So I was just talking with a client this morning who was going through this exact thing. They had a workflow and automation in a very popular CRM system. And as we're talking, she says to me, yeah, and I went ahead and pushed that through. I said, what do you mean you pushed that through? And she said, well, the automation hiccuped. And I'm thinking automation doesn't hiccup. There's a flaw somewhere. She said the automation hiccuped and it didn't work as intended. I said, okay, how many times have you pushed something through? And she's like, oh, probably one every 9 or 10. Okay, that means there's an underlying problem here. Something's not right with the process and or the system. And you never know which one is going to be that 9 or 10. So what's happening is a customer isn't getting the designed experience, the one that was intended by the company. A team member is hearing from the customer, hey, where's my X? And jumping in to push something through to make it work. But all the other times it works just fine, so she didn't think to raise it. That's where the team starts compensating. And then there's the it usually works trap. And this is exactly where that client was. And it's where many businesses get stuck. You hear things like, it normally works. Well, it works 9 out of 10 times. We've done this before. Or the flip side, this doesn't usually happen. And that word usually is definitely a leak. You see, trust is built on predictability, it's built on reliability, it's built on repeatability. And when you run into these kind of, it usually works, you'll find that there are 3 types of process failures. The first are conditional processes, meaning they only work under certain conditions, specific team members, specific timelines, specific client types. It might work for this type of a client, let's say a recurring client. However, a transactional, one and done client, not so much. Or flip. If you remove any of those conditions, it breaks. The second type of process, memory dependent processes. The process still exists, yet it relies on people remembering details. Don't forget, Make sure you also, normally we do this. And now all of a sudden, if any piece of that memory dependency breaks, the whole process breaks. You see, if something lives in memory, it's not a system. If that person goes away on vacation for a week, the system is going to fail for every piece that that person's memory was relied upon. 3, compensation-based processes. And we're not talking about the give me money salary type compensation. We're talking about when your team is quietly fixing the gaps. They're double checking with each other. They're catching mistakes late. They're filling in the missing gaps. Like the client I mentioned that is pushing things through, she's compensating for a broken system. See, the process appears to work to everybody because people are compensating for it. They're fixing things behind the scenes. Maybe they're sharing it. More than likely, they're just doing it to get it done and move on to the next thing. And so, if that person or people, if they go away, all of a sudden it's just like the train and then it stops because no one knew what was in their head, what was being done from memory. And there's a hidden cost to all of this. See, when your processes aren't reliable, the team confidence drops. Clients feel that inconsistency, especially if they're number 10 of the 9 of 10. Leaders get pulled into everything. And what happens is over time, you stop trusting your own system. This leads to manual oversight, constant checking, and decision fatigue. How many times do we have to do this? And that's the leak. That is the usually, that's what creates the leak. But it's okay because there's a shift. And here's the shift. Stop asking, does this process work? If I took Jane off the street and put her in this role, could she follow this process and would it work? If it only works with your top performer, it's not a system. Ask, does this work under time pressure? It's got to be done now. Does that work? Does it happen? Okay. And if things break when the business or the systems are moving fast, it's not durable. You can't rely on that. And then you have to ask, does this work without reminders? Does somebody need to be checking in or on something or someone? If it relies on nudges or follow-ups or memory, it's not complete. It's a partial system, a partial process. You see, a process that you have to babysit is not a process at all. So if you want to quickly identify a process leak, very, very simple. First, look around and see where do results vary. Where do people step in to fix things? And where do you go, just double check that for me? I'm not sure. That's not caution, that is compensation. A strong process works when the things are calm. A reliable process works when things are messy, fast, unexpected. That's real business. And if your process only works in ideal conditions, it's not protecting trust, it's actually quietly eroding it. So you want to look at your processes and say, okay, is this working under all scenarios? If this episode made you think about where your processes might be inconsistent, that's the work. See, most businesses don't need more systems. They need systems they can rely on. Ensure that you're subscribed for the next episode, like and follow this one, as we continue breaking down where trust leaks show up and how to fix them. And if someone on your team keeps saying, I followed the process, I don't know what happened, the result still isn't right, send them this episode. The issue may not be the person, it may be the process. And remember, reliability builds trust, inconsistency leaks it. Until next episode, make it a great week. And if you haven't yet taken the Trust Leaks Diagnostic, you can visit trustleaks.com and take the diagnostic. It's completely free. All right, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye for now.